being a retired teacher, really doesn't have any much interest and expertise in this area.
He may not have expertise, but he surely has interest in living on a small island which doesn't have its fauna and flora disrupted by major construction carried out.
Well, my lord.
Carried out unlawfully.
My lord, we are prepared to submit that the second appellant, and certainly both of the appellants, might have a very serious interest and concern about that. But we say, just because one has a sincere interest in a matter, and we make this point, my lord, at paragraph 49 of our case, having a strong and sincere interest in environmental issues does not put you over the threshold.
That may not by itself, but if you're a local resident and you live in the area affected, that seems a pretty strong interest. We all have an interest in the natural world around where we live.
Yeah, well, my lord, if the ambit were to be carried that large, all of us have an interest in the world that we live in. That means the floodgates would open, and
nobody's asking for it to be carried that wide. We're talking about the population of a small island.
Yes, my lord. I accept that the population of Barbuda is small.
And equally important, the island is small. And Mr. Mussington, for example, lives within a couple miles of what will be a busy airport.
Well, that's so, but I mean, in the nature of the Caribbean, most of the islands are small, and most of these islands are, in fact, almost all.
Well, if someone living 2 miles away from the major development doesn't have a sufficient interest in contesting it, who does?
Well, my lord,
your case seems to be that nobody has a right to challenge the government's unlawful activity.
No, I would not put my case that way. I would not put this.
Well, nobody else has come forward. There's no organisation apparently available to do it, so it has to be a local resident.
Well, they certainly have come forward, but what we say, certainly in the case of Mr. Mussington, that what he has put forward as his expertise is that of being a marine biologist. And what we say, this is the development of an airport. It's not a seaport, it's an airport. It's a land-based development. And him being a marine biologist in and of itself is insufficient to meet the evidential requirement to act in the public interest. And that is an argument, my lord, that we make at paragraph 53 of our submissions. So we would not seek to cast doubt that on facts that Barbuda is a small place. They live perhaps a couple of miles from the new airport, but there has to be more. There has to be more if they are going to.
Can you identify anybody who would be entitled to challenge this development on your case?
Well, somebody who can speak to what airport would mean in terms of adverse environmental impact.
Now, is that realistic? Are there going to be people on the island of Barbuda with expertise in airport development?
Well,
I mean, I think you'd have to look pretty widely in these islands to find many with that expertise.
Well, if there are none, I mean, the government or the public bodies themselves are not putting up themselves so that every decision that they make is to be challenged. But if a proper challenge is to be made, it must be made on the ground established by CPR 56.2, and in this case, 56.2 subsection A. So that is,
Do you challenge the jurisprudence from other Caribbean islands which suggest that similarly worded provisions should be interpreted liberally?
no, we cannot make that, we cannot make that point, and we do not make that argument. We are cognizant that, it must be afforded a fairly liberal interpretation, but liberal doesn't mean free for all. As I think one of the cases that we have referenced in our case is that to do so would run a course and carriage through the requirement for sufficient interest.